I spent last weekend in Columbus, Ohio, where I attended GDEX 2022. That's where attendees celebrate all things board games, video games, and yes, even VR. Here's a quick peek. I stopped by VR developer Dr. Block to ask them about their game, Straylight.
Straylight is basically a VR action platformer. We kind of built it from the ground up around the idea that you can move freely in VR and it won't make you sick. Well, it doesn't really kick in any nausea or anything that normal VR movement might. It's kind of like an obstacle course. It's based on old school platforming principles where you're just trying to get to the end, but it gets harder and harder to get to the end. You use kind of like a grappling hook mechanic to pull yourself around these very abstract worlds and try not to die too much.
While at the show, I had the good fortune of running into the guys from Clique Games, where we had a sit down to talk all things Clique Games and the future of their fantastic hand-track game, Rogue Ascent.
I'm Brandon Egoff. I'm the founder of Clique Games, and I started this company 2 years ago during the pandemic, and I never thought that it would get to where it is today, but after a long road, we are now the publisher of 7 different titles, 5 of which are VR, and we're very happy to be showing Rogue Ascent at GDEX and Origins.
My name is Waylon Fisher. I'm the co-founder of Clique Games. I came on board about 5 months after Brandon started the company and helped kind of expand the VR territory of Clique Games.
My name is Jordan McGraw. I'm the CEO of New Universe Studio and the creator of Rogue Ascent.
So we came as part of GDEX. It's GDEX's first year combined with Origins. We're in the GDEX section showing off Rogue Ascent.
I was looking for games online that didn't really have much marketing or publishing, but were really, really good. So these are developers that are so incredibly talented, but they just don't have that marketing sense to go out there and like really push the game because they're too busy working. And so I found a few titles, and eventually, when I realized I wanted to reach more into VR, which is more my background, I realized, well, I'm going to need help, and that's when I brought Waylon into the company. And today, we now have 5 different VR titles and 2 PC titles. So after a few months of trying to find new games to publish, I was going back through my repertoire of like games I've met over the years, people we've contacted, and I remembered this like little game that we met at DreamHack Atlanta in 2019, and it was called Coffin Rot Brewing Co. And I reached out to Jordan, who was the developer at the time, and I saw that his Twitter feed was just another game. And I was like, oh, I guess he must have friends with somebody who's building the new game. And so I reached out to him, and lo and behold, he was building a brand new game called Rogue Ascent. And at that point, didn't even have a vertical slice build quite yet. And so after we reached out to Jordan, it was about, I want to say, a month or 2 later that we were signing contracts and everything. I think the first thing that we did for Rogue Ascent was I had to figure out how to pronounce it and how to spell it. Because I think twice in our original emails I said Rouge Ascent.
Yeah.
But really the first thing was getting that vertical slice, because when I reached out to you, you didn't quite have it. It was about,
just about there.
Yeah, it was about a month later. And so it was hard for me to judge whether or not that would be a good fit for us moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. It's let me just work on the game just by doing everything that I want to do, and then they handle all the stuff that I don't want to do.
Yeah, I'll say for us, having Rogue Ascent under our belt is one of the most important titles that I think we'll ever have as a studio. This Rogue Ascent is one of the most amazing, innovative games that will ever come out on the Oculus Quest headsets. And that's just because it's a pioneer. It's one of the first, and you're not going to get that more than once or twice in your entire career. And that goes for you as well. Like, you've created one of the most amazing games on one of the most brand new up-and-coming platforms.
So I'm told.
So you're told. There's no way that you can't be happy as a studio to just be a part of that. And to be able to take that weight off of Jordan means that Jordan's going to make an even better game.
Yeah, the amount of innovation and just boundaries that Rogue Ascent has surpassed, that's what's mind-boggling about it. And just the time that we came on the project, being able to come on right at the beginning, just for all the stars to kind of align there, really meant that Jordan could just focus on the development portion of it. And for us, we actually had time to make a plan on how are we going to make this that big of a game.
I guess maybe the origin would be my first game that I published in vintage year was this twin stick shooter roguelike, And I just love the genre. And it's funny because Rogue Ascent is almost more explicitly roguelike in the genre than my previous titles. And I love procedural generation. I like the algorithmic complexity of things like that. And so I wanted to kind of take a constraint. I take the perspective that creativity is bred in constraint. And so this was just kind of something to hit my head against. And then as I worked more with it and kind of made some advances, I realized it was actually quite liberating. I took just some inspiration from the games that I played, and I liked Binding of Isaac, and I liked Risk of Rain and all these things. And one of the first games that I was really proud of was a roguelike, and it was a really simple kind of game, but it allowed me to develop my programming skills and take that a little bit farther and continue on with that. I wanted to be really explicit about what the game was, because I realized that you got one chance with the title to convey so much, almost too much, and so I thought, well, I would like to say explicitly what the genre is, maybe that's it, and then, what it is that you're doing, and so you're ascending, and so it's kind of, I always like the idea of elevators in games, something about having that moving platform to take you to different stages, very explicitly different levels of the game. And so I just wanted to be really explicit. So Rogue Ascent, I wanted a game where people would be like, oh, have you played Rogue Ascent? It's so easy to say that, have you played Rogue Ascent? I just wanted something that was explicit as to the genre and then explicit as to what the game was about. Why hand tracking? I mean, so I looked at the Oculus store and I saw there was a section that said recently updated for hands. There was 3 titles there, and I thought, I could be one of those. Share space with 3 other titles?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then I kind of started thinking, you think about how many buttons there are on a controller, then you think about American Sign Language, how many letters just in the English alphabet, and then how many words. I mean, we talk with our hands, it's ingrained in our physiology. So you give a controller to somebody and you say press the X button, they got to study the controller for a second to know what they're talking about.
Right.
But with this, you say do a finger gun and they do it automatically. So look at your watch. They know what you're talking about. So it's just like you've been studying this controller your whole life.
Rogue Ascent has, without a doubt, been one of the biggest VR titles that I've ever seen for how early on it is in promotion. Rogue Ascent is mentioned at every single level of VR development, from people who are brand new to indie development up to senior executives at Meta.
So hold on, you've got Meta's attention.
King of Nerds exclusive is that, there is, currently we are talking with Meta about certain things revolving around the game. I can't say to what extent or, how far that goes, but there's definitely interest from Meta about the game moving forward.
Even at just this small convention, somebody from Shell Games stopped in and just could not stop talking to Jordan. Because it's what you're doing is incredible. Just the gameplay itself, if it wasn't a hand title, it would still be a good title.
We're not only getting attention from, people at Meta, which is fantastic, but publishers who have been in this space for years before us are taking notice this early on. And it's because of, me and Waylon's background in running virtual reality arcades since they were first starting in 2017. Obviously, we have our connections there, but these people are not hearing about us because we know them. They're hearing about it because Rogue Ascent's making waves.
There's still a lot of content to put in there. There's boss encounters, there's different game modes and stuff. At this point right now, it's a very good vertical slice of what the combat should feel like. And so it feels very much like home when you're playing the game, and so we want to expand that out and really get the entire campaign to feel that same way.
One thing we haven't even brought up in this interview yet is the native Twitch integration that Jordan just put into the game. Do you want to talk about it? Or
Go ahead. I can go for it. Anybody can.
I'll go for it for a minute. So Rogue Ascent basically is the first native Twitch integration for a standalone headset, to my understanding. We've yet to hear of another game like it.
We were doing a stream with Z-Storm Games. Near the end of the stream, he was just kind of chilling and talking, and he mentioned that he was like, oh, I'm sorry guys if I couldn't read your chat donations and stuff. I think that's important for the streamer. I wrote in chat, I said, I could add a Twitch chat integration if you wanted. He got to the front of his seat and his eyes got real big. He was like, could you really do that? So I put that in there, and then I thought, well, if I'm going to go this far, let's gamify it. And I was thinking what kind of fun commands you could put into chat to make things happen. And I thought, well, think about if you had bit donations that could trigger in-game events. So I had this little hierarchy of events where, for example, 100 bits, that's $1. You donate to the streamer, and then you get confetti. It's a hilarious, just kind of silly sort of interaction. 200 bits, and you dropping a grenade on their head. live grenades beeping, beep, beep, beep. And everything after that is like, spawning enemy patrols. It's all in-game events and stuff. And it's a way to get like an awesome reaction from the streamer, which is what they want. They want an opportunity to emote for their crowd, and then the chat loves it because they're beating up their favorite streamer.
I can tell you that every streamer who has played Rogue Ascent live so far that gets between 10 and 40 viewers has made at least over $300 per stream. Yeah. It's been really good.
Pays for itself.
This is the first ever game that's going to run inside your Quest headset, and it's going to link to your chat without you having to connect to the computer or anything. And that is apparently revolutionary, because now if you look through Twitch, you are not going to find many people playing VR, ever. It's so rare. But Rogue Ascent, we're hoping, is that stepping stone to convince streamers that it's worth it. You can literally put your name in front of the streamer and they have to fight you. What we're looking for are games that not only make you really feel like you're doing something new that you've never done, but we want games that you look at it and you're going to tell everybody about it, not because it was just fun, but because you cared about what you did in that game. Using your hands to interact with the game is one of those things that doesn't leave you. You think about that forever. You'll think about the first hand tracking game you played, and it's going to be Rogue Ascent. And for Clique Games, that's really important, and that's what we're looking for in the future. So for us, this is the beginning of a very long road.